everyone, this is Tony from Her Homestead Skills, and today I have decided to can up some more harvest from my garden. So I'm working on a few things. From the title you'll see that I am pickling carrots, I'm jarring up some more tomatoes, and I am drying up some parsley. Now, the garden is coming to an end for the summer, but I do have some crops that I'm hoping will still come through, only I'm not holding my breath, and that would be the Brussels sprouts. I have planted quite a few Brussels sprouts, but they just seem to, just get really, really tiny, hardly anything there. So, but we'll see. They are a fall crop, and it's getting cool. So I may yet get something from them. Spinach is doing well. I was hoping it would bolt, but I think I'm going to go take another cutting of my spinach. Doesn't look like it's going to bolt at all. It's doing very well. And I'm cleaning up the garden, moving things around. I may try to set up a specific area for herbs alone. I love herb gardens, anyway, we'll see what we do there. Well, today's video is about processing small amounts again. I've got a couple jars of tomatoes using my new manual press, and a couple of jars of carrots. So I hope you enjoy this video. Here we go. Okay, well, I'm processing the little carrots that I got from my garden. I have actually left them overnight in salted water. And normally, I'm going to pickle these, and normally if you pickle them, you would want to cook them part way. But these are very young and very tender, and so I believe that having them in the salt water overnight would probably be adequate. Now, the pieces that were too small that I didn't want to pickle, I'll probably make soup out of, or just cook as a side dish to a meal. So those are going in the refrigerator, but these three are going to be pickled, and I'm going to add a teaspoon of pickling spice to each one. Now there's a lot of coriander in this pickling spice, which is fine. Okay, so that's done, and they are packed nice and tight. And I have the brine left over from making my pickled mushrooms yesterday, and I'm hoping this is enough. Close. I think I have a little bit left from another jar, so I will add a little bit more brine to this. Okay, the balance of my brine is ready, and we want to fill this to 1/2 inch headspace. That'll do. And hopefully there isn't too much trapped air anyway. Okay. Nope, seems to be fine. As usual, clean the rims with vinegar. Now, normally I would process these for 15 minutes, but because of the fact that I did not cook the carrots, I may leave them in for 5 minutes longer. Won't do any harm to put them in a little longer. You don't want less time, though. And the only reason I'm putting them in a little longer is because the carrots weren't heated up. So you want to make sure that everything gets heated up really well. So that looks really nice. So into the canner they go. Okay, item number 2, another thing that I'd like to touch on is that I have harvested a fair amount of parsley from my garden. And I washed it all and took it in chunks and took off the harder stems, and I don't dehydrate these. I find that parsley is way too delicate. In the past I've tried to dry them in the oven in all sorts of ways, but I find that just laying them out and letting them air dry is more than adequate. These have been drying for about 2 days and they're almost there, and there's absolutely no issue with them. Like, I think one more day and they'll be dry and really healthy. And even though they are in bunches and it looked like they were thick bunches, they are drying quite nicely. Now, I have used my dehydrator trays for this because there is enough air. Now, I haven't sat them one on top of the other though. I have left them so that there was some air flowing for both of them. In the past, I have used screens, and I actually even went out and purchased, hang on, there it is, I've purchased nylon window screening, and you can nail this to an old wooden picture frame, or in my case I have a quilting hoop that I could just slide this in, and that's what I was going to do until I realized, why not just try to use my dehydrated trays. Okay, and as I said, on the dehydrator trays, they're drying just nicely, and probably by tomorrow I should be able to crumple these up slightly and put them in some sort of storage container. Okay, once again, busy morning. And this little segment actually I'm doing because Debbie said she wanted to see this little machine in action. If you've been watching my previous videos, you know that I've purchased a manual tomato processing machine, and it's the same process as my electric. The only difference is that I am physically turning this crank as opposed to having a motor do it. But Debbie said she wanted to see it in action, and I have tomatoes to process, so there's only a few again. And as usual, I have cooked or blanched. Well, I'd say it's a little more than just blanched, but cook these tomatoes until the skin splits. And that will help to have a nice looking jar. You also want to drain out as much of the liquid as you can. Now, the only thing with this machine is that it does not have a splash guard, and that can be a bit irritating, but you only get the splash in the first little section anyway. So here we go. I am manually processing this lot. And let's see. Oh, the splash isn't too bad. There it goes. There's our little bit of splash. Now, I have processed some of my little grape tomatoes with this as well, because I have quite a, there's my splashing, I have quite a number of these little tomatoes, and I can't eat them all. But as you can see, it's literally a matter of manually processing this as opposed to the machine doing it. It's a lot quieter. That machine can get pretty darn loud. And there you go, you have the pulp coming down here, you have the skin and the seeds coming out the side. Once again, exactly the same process as my electric one. Just a little more tiring. And yes, you can process large amounts with this machine. It's as long as your arm can handle the job, you can do it. The machine can handle it. Okay, I'm going to fill up the hopper again. I'm going to finish this process, and I'm sure you've all seen this before, so I'm just going to turn the camera off, finish this process, and we'll get back to you later. Okay, so as you can see, my processing of the carrots and tomatoes is done for the day, and I have managed to get 3 pint jars of pickled carrots from my garden, and some that I will be using possibly to make soup, or just to have them for dinner as a side dish. And I've got, today I also got 6 pint jars of tomato puree. In the past I've already processed about 9.5 pint jars from the garden. And what I have left, I'm assuming I can do at least another 30 jars. So that's going to be close to about 60, 65, 70 pounds of tomatoes from my garden, which I really didn't expect, and I'm pleased to get. I just have to wait for them to ripen before I process them. Now, I have noticed that these jars do have little tiny flecks of seeds in them, and it isn't from the machine. It's from adding the little grape tomatoes in with this batch, so it's not just the Roma, the San Marzan type tomato. I did add the little grape tomato because it is of the same family. It is a very pulpy, firm little tomato, but the seeds are much, much smaller. So they did go through the mash, and I really have no issue with that. You're not even going to notice them when you cook them. So, but yes, it did pick up all the seeds and the peel from the larger tomatoes. It works exactly the same. That machine works exactly the same as my electric, except that you have to manually turn the wheel. Anyway, I'm very pleased with the results of today's processing. This is Tony from Her Homestead Skills. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.